Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to the Sweetwater Minute. This time out, we are joined by two very special guests. We have Herman Gier and Wolfgang Neumann from SPL Labs, all the way from Germany.
Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming in, guys. We appreciate you being here. It's an honor to have you visit us here at Sweetwater.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
You just had a tour of the facility, didn't you?
Impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
fantastic. It's a nice building. All the green idea which is behind the whole complex. It's perfect fit in this time.
Yeah, it's really pretty amazing facility, and we're so glad that you came all this way to visit us. You're here for a couple of days, right?
Yeah, we flew in the day before yesterday, and then we did a presentation yesterday to your salespeople, and today we're here, and tomorrow we fly home.
Nice, quick trip.
Yes.
Yeah, that's sure perfect.
Excellent. And one of the main reasons you're here is that Sweetwater is, of course, now a dealer for SPL. We're carrying all the products that you guys manufacture, which is very exciting as well.
Yeah, for us it's exciting too.
Yeah.
It's a big development step for us as a company, being presented by you guys, and yeah, we're enthused about it.
Yeah,
really
us too.
Yeah.
Us too. We're excited. So tell us a little bit about the company. How did the company get started, or what were your roots in the audio industry?
Well, actually, the company starts in the recording business. In the late 70s, I had a recording studio close to the Dutch border in Netherlands, and I worked together with a guy from UK. He was an engineer. So we set up this studio in this place because at the time there were not many recording studios in this area. So it was good covering several artists which are very famous in Netherlands and German. And at the same time, I start building equipment which is necessary for the recording. So microphone preamplifier, compressors, gates, because recording equipment was quite expensive. And for us, it was a very difficult situation because we stepped in MCI recording equipment, and that was special for Europe, very high expensive.
Right.
So starting this product, but mostly for the own recording studio, but also for some collect and other recording studio now in this area. And over a short period, the price was dropping very hardly. So we started with 150 German marks or gulden in Netherlands. And in a 3-year period, it was dropped down by 15 or 20 for other recording studios.
This is the fees you were able to get for the studio as you were...
Yeah. So I thought, well, that's maybe it would be a nice, good future. And I sold this, my part of the studio to the partner and start manufacturing these devices, starting with the front panel. It's like the 19-inch. And in these days, it was looks not that nice that we have right now. It was a rough front panel, it was a rough case, and all these handmade things. So I'm manufacturing over the week, and then I ring up the studios and said, I have some nice stuff, come over to your place and show you that, you know. So it's starting selling the equipment, manufacturing more, selling more. And I have a guy who is taking care about the distribution in Germany, and he was not really that successful. And at that moment, Herman comes in, because he was how was hiring you how was the intro of how we get you to this company? He was selling speakers too.
Yeah, he was selling speakers too.
Speakers.
I was a bass player at the time. Still am, and my bass teacher was an endorser for those speaker systems that his partner was also selling at the time. So I was, I worked did a bit of management for my bass teacher on the trade show 85 in Essen, I think it was, right?
Yeah, there were several shows in our area.
Anyway, I did this, and I ended up as being at his company, and I saw what he was doing there. He was making his own print boards, he was drilling them, he was stuffing the stuff. And I was, my background at that time was that I was a stagehand for local concerts, and we did The Cure, Fischer Z, and Jaco Pastorius, and all of these bands.
Right.
So I had like 60, 70 gigs being a stagehand, but most of the time I was spending my time at the mixing desk during the concert, and I was looking at this, and I saw the faders, and I saw the view, and the racks with 19-inch gear, and I said, "Wow, Jesus, I want to be part of that one day in my life. I want to be part of that thing."
Right.
So that was where I got the virus injected.
Right.
And when I saw him doing this, I went like, "There's a guy actually doing this, building this stuff. I gotta know this guy." And I said, "Wolf, I need a new bass preamplifier." And he said, "Well, I got this 3-band EQ over here. I can make you a preamp, and we can build it in there for you." And I said, "Yeah, I can drill too. I can solder. I can do that, but I can't get it to work. You gotta help me there." And he said, "Yeah, no problem." So we sat down doing this, and in the course of that, I got to know his partner and the way he ran the company, and it went all down the drain during we actually did this. And he was saying, "No, I don't know how we go on here." And I said, "Well, you got so far, and you make such extraordinary equipment, you cannot stop." And well, you know, I study economy, and I just want to finish this off. And I go to the university in the morning, and I come here in the afternoon, and we see where we go to, right? And my father landed me a few bucks, and we bought equipment. My mother-in-law, he worked at a hospital at the time, and a huge hospital in Aachen in Western Germany, and they needed a mixing console.
Yeah, very interesting story.
Yeah, they were recording surgeries.
The operational stuff.
Yeah, they had an operational area with like a video studio. And they were selling these videos as training videos all over the world. And they needed a special made mixing desk. And that was our first job we got. So and already a mixing desk with a patch bay and everything. So we made 2 of them.
That's true.
With the money we got from my father, sold it to them, made our first money back, sold the second one, got a little bit more money, and then we started, "Hey, what's your range?" And he had so many products already sitting there, and I said, "That's too much. We need to focus," and so we brought down the line and we started doing it, and that was all good, but the moment where we actually started to become a real company was with an invention we made in '88.
Yeah, we started the vitalizer.
The vitalizer story.
Yeah.
Funny enough, it was driven by the competition.
Right.
And at the time, Aphex obviously was the biggest player in exciters and so on.
Sure.
And we had a product which was we called it SX2, an exciter dual channel, but we had a stereo expander built in. So that was the gimmick that we had on top. But we never did excitement. He said, "I don't want to do that."
Just done by filtering.
Okay.
It's just the way.
So different
Because
approach.
filtering is it's my heart. You know, you filter to creating filters to find out what you can do with capacitors, resistors, and all inductors, and changing something in a way what the normal equalization like parametric and all this stuff is not doing. So I was I had several filters, and what we did, we mixed them up at that point. And so
Yeah, he had real success. I mean, he went over with one of his prototypes to Rambo recording studios, and there was a Fleetwood Mac recording at the
Yes,
time,
maybe,
and he was putting his new exciter, which wasn't an exciter, on on there, and the guy said, "Well, open it up," took off the lid, looked inside. "Oh well, that's worth plugging in."
You can tell just by looking at this.
Yeah, it wasn't just an empty box with a
quite
golden
a lot of
resistor.
stuff.
It was something, right?
Yeah.
And they bought it, and you can hear it on Tango in the Night. All of the crispy sounds and from the keyboards in the beginning, they were actually made with that thing. Yes, he really knows how to do this, right?
Right.
And I said, okay, it's kind of cool to have this top end thing, right? But you know, I always feel that the mix gets out of balance. We need to have something that treats audio as an entity, bass, mid, high frequencies, not just one part, right? And you emphasize that, and the other one loses. You know, that's so I don't like that. And he said, yeah, well, cool, yeah, great. Nice you say that. So how can we do this? And I said, well, I don't know. you're the boffin, I'm not. So
Yeah, I had a lot of sleepy nights.
and then he came up and put this thing on the board, which was like a huge mess.
Yeah, you know, all this evolution board, when you're doing something, you know, there's one inductor, one capacitor, one more, and it grows and grows, you know. You're coming to the point where you say, well, there's a sound.
So I had no idea what he was doing there. There were just 9 pots, 8 trimmers, and 7 switches, right? And for mono. Okay.
Wow.
And we said,
Yeah.
how do we monitor this to see if there's anything new happening? Because we were just looking for something new to happen.
Right.
Right. And he was, he said, you know, he was reading these books from Don Lancaster.
I got
filter
a whole
cookbooks.
bunch of them. Yeah,
But this guy especially said on the last page of his book, well, theoretically, we have 2 million filters possible. Theoretically. Probably only 2,000 have ever been built up. And we have just a handful that we use. So stop thinking about these cookbooks here. Start looking for the new stuff. So that was his mantra at the end of the thing, saying, brilliant. That's cool. So
Right,
let's
right.
go experiment. Right? We don't know where this may end up or not. I remember that we were sitting there and we were using the nighttime to experiment in the
listening
daytime,
session, yeah.
doing the regular job, you know, and we were sitting there and we had these awful speakers. I mean,
You know, one of these car speakers, you know, without chassis, you know, just
they were just a chassis,
and
no
hanging up
housing.
right on the corner, up the wall, you know.
Right.
It's,
because
you know,
we-
our tone, you can have a sound from the hour tone when you have a good mix. You
Right.
know? But to get it just one out of the speaker, which is somewhere in the air, somewhere in the corner of the room, this is the adventure.
Right.
And we said,
That's
if
really
anything positive happens,
Yeah.
and we hear it on these speakers, it's a
Then it's
fair
perfect.
assumption that we hear it on any speaker. So that was as bad as it can be.
Yeah.
And we were listening, and he was one night, and it was actually February 18th.
Yeah, somewhere around
88.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that because this changed our life. And that was the start of the company. And he was walking around with, oh, I'm going to feed this filter into this filter, and then we're going to mix it up here in that filter. And while we do that, I say, do it. And then he walked around.
There was
And I said-
some kind of acoustical film running in my head at that moment. You know, I know when you're going this step, this step, this step. It could be this and this. It's like just 0 and 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. You know, and then you say, well, this could be a point, and you hit the point. It's
And
like
suddenly-
you're triggering the musician. You get a goose skin. You know, the
This-
speaker in the corner, it starts shining at that moment.
We had this song from Jennifer Warnes and on. That was just a popular record at the time, very well recorded.
Right.
And the second song on that, I think was first we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin. That was the hit
Now,
single.
Roxy music will also.
And the second one was opening up with these huge orchestra drums, and they were sounding like tun 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 tun, and suddenly it was doom 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 doom. They were filling up the room, and we were like, "Where does that come from?" And we were looking around. and
Fills up
said,
the room.
Right.
What did you
Amazing.
do? Well, I just solder it. And okay, it was 2 o'clock in the night. I said, "Come on, let's go to bed and see if this is still there tomorrow." And it was. And then we were trying. What is this? What have we done?
Right.
No, there was no scientific approach to this. You know, this was just like it happened, and we were lucky enough to see this moment. And it at the same thing was now that we got a letter from our competition saying that the patent was granted for the exciter after 11 years of processing it. And it was laid out in Munich in the patent office, and you could have gone there. It's 3 months past now, and now we're saying you can't bring this product to market. And it was right ahead of the Frankfurt Music Show where we wanted to launch it. And we sat there, oh, Jesus, they're going to kill us. What are we going to do? We had already spent 2,000 marks on front panels. And he said, Wolf, you know what? So we have 3 knobs, maybe 4, 3 switches for one side, and we have this twice, and you have this forest of stuff here. You know what we're going to do? We're going to spend the
Yeah,
next 2
challenge,
weeks
yeah.
and we see what works and what doesn't. We get down to 3 pots. We get down to 3 switches, and we erase as many trimmers inside, and we just see what makes musical sense. And condensing this down to that point with the restriction of putting it into these boards because we couldn't afford anything else was another part that made this actually an invention that later on got a patent. We have in the US, in China, in Europe, in Japan. It's a filter patent.
Okay.
And there are not
it's
many
for
on the
my
world.
patent. No, no, not a few.
And I was asking our patent lawyer, is that a good patent, or how do you qualify this? And she said, well, we have 22 claims, and when you get 2 or 3 claims through, you have a good patent. You got 14 minimum.
Wow.
You have a white
Yeah.
paper, and there's only your name on it. That's how good your patent is. And so that brought us on the map. We started to sell it. That was the first product to go to the US. That was sold under the name Vitalizer.
Right.
And meanwhile, we sold over 80,000 of these
Wow.
units and boxes and software or
Yeah.
whatever. That was the start of the company.
Wow. That's a great story.
Yeah, vitalizer is very interesting. You know, you have in the past the regular filtering, you know, the shelving, the backson, the high, and the bass. It's the first filtering. Then you got the graphic filterings. You got George Massenburg, the parametric filtering, and vitalizer is coming after that. So this is all the filtering you have on the market right now, using the whole music industry, using that one, and everybody is using.
Right.
And vitalizer is the last, you can say, technology of filtering.
And still a big part of your line.
It is.
Oh yes,
it is
yes,
still.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it
is
changed
still.
a lot in any direction.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
that's
right.
true.
And of course, you've grown the line since then. We were talking earlier. You have everything from entry level, more affordable pieces, all the way to mastering consoles and things. So you cover the whole range at this point.
It's pretty much we're a vertical company, not a horizontal company.
Yeah, vertical. Well, this is good. Yeah. Yeah. What we ever tried in the company is, or what we did, it's not just manufacturing devices for the music market. I designed components which are inside of the 19-ear gauge. So we have special balanced receivers and balanced drivers which are based on ceramic with laser trimmed resistors, guarantee perfect common mode reaction over very, very wide frequency and high common mode reaction in dB. So many people outside, they don't know that, what's inside of the device.
Right.
It's a part of the company, always creating technology, components, what we put inside to manufacturing preamplifiers or compressors or whatever. And this is the reason why 120 volt also comes into the market. You know, we foolish around with the dynamic bandwidth of devices, because with the regular power supply, which runs on minus positive a 15 or 18 volt, you cannot really have a dynamic device. When you remember, you're in a recording business 30 years ago, all the old console, you know, the ARM, the MCI, they have a lot more power supply and a wider range. You have a lot more dynamic in the console. And at the moment the operation amplifier released into the music market, it was very easy for applications engineering to bring a device down to these small little black things, and you cut down the dynamic range. And when you think, I'm sure only a pro audio device which has an input and output with 24 dB is a pro audio product. So we can say 80–90% on the pro audio market are not real pro audio products, because they have a less power supply. They run on minus 15, 18 volt, and it's not working. Only devices which have more than 24 volt on positive and negative side are 24 dB on the output. This is a pro audio device. George, all the guys, they're telling you the same. So I had in mind to creating an own operation amplifier which runs on 120 volt. That means 60 volt on both sides, negative and positive.
Right.
And that gets 40 dB. 141 dB dynamic range. And that's where my heart starts ringing, you know,
Right,
it makes
right.
something interesting. So and then we start with the mastering console, but he knows the guy from Ronald Prent who rings you up and asks for the mastering console. You want to tell the story?
Sure.
After we had these components, we were actually where's the product that we're going to put this in? And Galaxy Studios in Belgium, in Mol, now is a huge complex. They are the guys doing Aura 3D right now, right, responsible for that.
Right.
At the time, they were starting to do the first surround mastering place, and it's an extraordinary place, Galaxy. I mean, really extraordinary. So Ronald, and he was one of my mixing heroes, doing Police and other like big Rammstein. Part of the sound is his, and so he called us up and said, "Well, we have this project for a mastering console, 8-channel. Are you willing to go out with us and design that?" I said, yes. Well, I didn't know if we could cope with that. So I spoke with Wolf about this, and he said, "Yeah, hey, why not?" But okay, I went over to Ronald's place, and he just sketched it up, and we sat there with the like paper, and he was just, "I need this." And
You want this script, yeah.
Okay, and how do you want to do this? Blah blah blah, and we were talking about all the issues. And issues, for example, is 8 channels. How do you level them in a way that you can not just set monitor levels, but also recording gain, which means infinite resolution. So no step ladder, right? And 8 channels, how do you do that?
Right.
At the time, we were inquiring that at Penny and Giles, and they were making 8-gang parts, cost like 600 euros a piece. Right? Ridiculous. But these, something that size,
Right.
really serious stuff.
2 pound. Whatever.
Yeah.
You got something for your money.
Right.
And with that, we made the call. And I said, "Okay, when do you need that?" "Well, in December," and it was March.
Okay.
And I said, "Well, you want to open up in December?" "Yeah, lately, maybe November." I said, "Are you crazy? How can we do this?" Okay. "Yeah, well, we're gonna pay you up front on the development." Yeah, but the manpower, I mean. So we went back and we went through a whole thing, and then Wolf did one of his. I still think this is one of the most heavy-duty jobs he ever did. Over the summertime, in May we finished the design. In June, July, August, he sketched the print boards out of his head without a schematic, no block diagram. He said, "I know what I have to do." I said, "Oh, as long as you're sure you know what you're going to do, I'm fine with that." So there were, I think it was 34 boards went into this console.
Yeah.
And there were about...
Stretching right from the head to the print circuit board, which was the
And only
first time
2
that you get the 124 in one complete device.
Yeah.
And this is a mastering 8-channel device. That was a challenge.
It was a challenge.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And only 2 had a problem.
Wow.
Only 2.
Yeah.
And the rest worked. And still works, because this console, this original console, is now at Super Sound Recording Studio in Devon, in England, with Simon Hayworth. And he's pretty fond of having that. And it's still the old prototype from the first days that is now...
And it's still running.
Yeah.
15 years.
15 years.
15 years.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then Bob Ludwig called us up from the Gateway, and he heard about that, and he said, "Well, I need the same thing, but I want to have it blue."
The front panel. Okay.
He said, "How do you do that with the gaining?" And yeah, we have this Penny and Giles huge part and blah blah blah. And he said, "Oh, okay. No step ladders." I said, "How can you do step ladders on a record?" "Yes, I know. Yeah, okay." And 14 days later, we had a check from him. He said, "Okay, boys, go ahead." So yeah.
Yeah, very impressive.
That's
That's awesome. So your latest product is the Crimson audio interface.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, tell us a little about that.
Crimson, the idea for Crimson started about 3 years ago, and we just wanted to do interfaces, but it's difficult because you have to combine so many technologies. First of all, SMD production in huge quantities. We were not set up for that, so we had to find partners doing that. Then you need drivers, right? You need experience in designing USBs, PHYs and microcontrollers and all of that. So we got people to do that to help us doing that. And then we wanted to have real audio performance. What I, and you especially, but I also hate is if you have no headroom in a box, right? And we had other boxes to look at, and over 0 dB, THD through the roof. I said, yeah. And you put a headphone in with a decent impedance, and you crank it up, and it's not getting loud at all. Right? And it's like, what? No, we have to do this right. And
right from the beginning.
And then, but we had a 12-volt wall-wart supply, you know.
Right.
And that was pretty much what you had to do, and it was okay. But then I got to know somebody who is actually able to create a power supply that we build into the Crimson that produces proper 70.5 volt plus or minus, so that we get at least up to 22.8 dBu, which is short of what he just said about 24.
Right.
But
for
in comparison
interface,
to
it's
0,
perfect. Yeah.
in comparison to 0 to 22, and 24 is professional level,
Right.
that tells you where this interface is positioned. It is professional recording almost, although those claim that too.
Right, sure.
And we put our discrete preamplifiers in there, and reviewers from magazines wrote about that. Just these amplifiers are worth the whole box. They're
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice, and I think they're really good. It drives 600 ohm headphones like hell. So you really get gain out of that. It's a professional little box, and for the money, for what it does, we combined a monitor controller, an analog monitor controller, with this USB thing, and an analog high quality input. So you get 6 channels in, 6 channels out.
Right.
For that price point and that level, I think that's a cool piece of kit.
Yeah, very impressive. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
Lots of fun. Guys, you have so much great stuff going on. We're just so excited to have you here at Sweetwater. I think it's
we
going
could
to be a
talk
great
the whole
partnership.
week.
Yeah, there's so much we can talk about with
That's
so many products, so many great things. So it's all wonderful. What a fascinating story. Thanks so much for coming in and sharing your time and some of that background with us. Very appreciative.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you, Herman.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Wolfgang,
Mitch.
come back soon. We'd love to have you back.
We'll do. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks for joining me for the Sweetwater Minute. I'm Mitch Gallagher.